Whenever you're ready, Alan.
Is it us? Now, we first met our next guest when he was only 5 years old after he landed a life-changing role in the movie Jerry Maguire and went on to star in such blockbusters as The Little Vampire and, of course, Stuart Little.
He's now back with a bang with a brand new inspiring podcast called Comeback Kids, which aims to encourage people to chase after their passions in life. And we're delighted to welcome onto the show this morning Jonathan Lipnicki, calling in from LA in the middle of the night, I believe. Good morning to you, Jonathan.
Good morning to you too. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for staying up for us.
Yeah, thanks for staying up.
Very much appreciated.
No problem.
We just mentioned Comeback Kids there, this podcast, and I think we all need a little bit of inspiration, certainly after the year that we've had. And you speak to people about overcoming adversity and pursuing and following and chasing their dreams. Tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, I actually got the idea because when I was going through a really rough time, podcasts and audiobooks are what got me through it. And listening to and watching inspiring people on, various podcasts. And I thought, if I could do that for just one person, that would be worth doing a whole podcast. So I find a lot of people that I find extremely inspiring who are passionate about what they do and have overcome several obstacles in their lives. And, I interview them and find out their secrets.
And you were saying you were going through a very bad time. What were you going through? What was the bad times?
Oh, it was 2019. I was going through a lot of different things. I'd rather not talk about them, but
okay.
Just know it's a low point for me, and you got to find ways. You got to validate those feelings when you're in the middle of something tragic, but then you got to find a way to get over them, and so you got to find a plan and. You got to be proactive in chasing your own happiness. And so that's what, podcasts help me do. And that's what I hope to inspire in other people.
And we found in Ireland, and I'm sure you found in the States, podcasts have taken off so much because of lockdown. People are just going on their walks and they're within our 5K. That's all we can do. So to listen to podcasts is a release for people.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's many ways as an artist to get out your message in many different mediums now. There's social media, there's podcasts, and then there's, of course, the films and TV that I'm lucky enough to do. But this podcast is a new venture. It's been extremely rewarding personally, and the feedback so far has been really great.
Which is super to hear. Actually, when you mentioned going through tough times there, Jonathan, it made me think about your childhood and having an incredible movie career as well as being a little boy and going to school, which must have jarred a little bit and must have been a very bizarre experience going into school and seeing your peers, but they would be going to the movies to see you at the weekend. How was that?
I wouldn't change it for the world. At the end of the day, I want to preface it by saying that I got to find out what I wanted to do for the rest of my life when I was 5 years old, and I would never change that. Everybody goes through hardships. Mine was an interesting bag considering, I did those movies and I went to public school. For a while it was extremely bad. But I'm stronger for it, and I've taken a lot of lessons from that and taken a lot of lessons from the successes in my and the failures in my career.
In your career as well.
I'm stronger than ever.
And Jonathan, like when I was 5, I couldn't tie my shoelaces. So, I mean, how do you get into a major film like that at 5 years of age? Were you doing it? Were your parents? How did all that happen?
My parents weren't really pushy. It was actually me. I tried like a local acting class, and I told my parents I wanted to try auditioning for things. And I booked a few commercials, and then I got Jerry Maguire, and that was my first kind of big thing. And I realized while filming that I wanted to do this for the rest of my life, and that has never changed for me. I've only fallen more and more in love with acting.
And I think that might be a little bit at odds with other child actors who actually become allergic to the whole environment because of negative experiences, and yet you never wavered from your dream. And we'll talk about your new movie, Broil, in just a minute. You did go back to Tom Cruise and ask for advice, which was, I thought, a very clever thing to do when you were in your early 20s.
I was lucky enough to ask that guy. He's been around for some advice, and he was more than welcoming. And he's the hardest worker I've ever met in my life. And if I can work half as hard as that guy, maybe even a quarter, then I'm doing something right. And he was extremely inspirational and instrumental for me, knowing what's what and understanding how to proceed in my career.
For sure. So tell us about Broil. This is your new movie.
So Broil is about a very, very wealthy family that hires a chef to take out the patriarch of their family, and I play that chef right there, actually, with Timothy V. Murphy, great actor. And it was a really fun experience. It was a lot darker than stuff I've done in the past, and it was a great chance to show people what I could do now.
And obviously you continue to work, but you've also done some reality shows as well. And I suppose what comes to mind is Celebs Go Dating. I mean, what's it like what's the dating scene like for somebody who is in the public eye?
It's hard enough being anybody. I mean, it's finding the right person. A lot of things got to go right, and Celebs Go Dating was an interesting experience. I'm really grateful for it. I learned a lot from it. Didn't find love on the series, but I think that going through that made me a better partner for the girlfriend I have now. So, lessons learned.
You found love since. Good to hear. I believe congratulations are in order because you've also recently received a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I would imagine that's a lifelong love of the art and craft of jiu-jitsu. You don't just take it up and 6 months later get your black belt. So have you been doing this for years?
Yeah, about 14 years. It's been really important for me. It helped me a lot with, I had a lot of really bad anxiety growing up, which comes and goes now as an adult. But it was something that really has benefited me mentally as well as physically. It's an extremely hard sport. It's extremely rough, and I've become a tougher person because of it. And, acting doesn't seem so scary when I've had, guys twice my size on top of me trying to choke me.
And going back to the podcast, then you were saying that you have inspirational people on it. Is there any people on your get list that you want to get on your podcast?
Right now, we're looking at a lot of really good options. I'm trying to get my buddy Russell Peters, who's a great comedian, on there. I think he's a very inspirational guy. But some of the people that we had on there that were really inspirational were one of my friends who's on the hit show 911 Lone Star, Julian Works. He gave a great episode. And if you're ever feeling down, really check it out because, I've benefited. I feel like I'm a listener every time I get to interview people. And I've benefited a lot from getting to interview some of these great people. There's Ethan Suplee, amazing actor, lost 400 pounds, I think, nearly. And he, changed his life.
We had a wonderful guy who would be well known to us here in Ireland, Niall Breslin, on yesterday. He's a mindfulness coach, and he was talking about sometimes the most extraordinary stories don't come from public figures, but there are extraordinary stories everywhere. Everybody has one, and I suppose that's why podcasts are so important, to highlight those stories. But just from your own personal experience, the last year, how's it been for you? You were able to continue working, obviously, with the podcast series, but on an emotional level, with lockdown and not being able to see family.
It's really hard for everybody, and we all have a different experience, and I think you can't really gauge or judge, my own versus other people's, but it definitely it's challenging, and I found gratitude in every day and the small things I get to do. I've been very lucky, and the people around me have been very lucky and healthy, but I think that finding little things that you can do each day has helped me a lot. Getting into different activities. I started writing, for instance. I haven't really been a writer before. But I think, you gotta find things that bring you joy, and you gotta do some sort of physical activity, whether it's, just walking around your living room or, doing push-ups or chin-ups. You gotta find something to get your heart beating because, that releases endorphins, and that's extremely important during this time.
Well, look, thank you. As we said, thank you so much for staying up late in LA and joining us this morning here on Ireland AM. Thanks very much.
No problem.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome. I'll see you soon.
And don't forget, you can listen to Jonathan's podcast, Come Back Kids, on all your usual digital platforms right now.
Sounds like a great podcast. Now, we're over in the catwalk next. We'll see you in a few minutes.